Welcome back to the Pro Series Podcast. This is episode 101, and today's guest is Steve Gregory. Steve is a real estate agent here in Pittsburgh, and this is another in-person podcast. We did it in his brokerage, and we talk about his background in sports and how sports shapes someone later on in life and helps entrepreneurs, and particularly also in real estate. And then we talk about real estate, how he got into it, and we just talk about some other fun topics. So definitely tune into this if you're into real estate or just interested in the topic of sports and how it could shape someone out later in life. But before we get into this, please like, subscribe, and review this podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts. And now I hope you enjoy episode 101 with Steve Gregory. Awesome, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on the Pro Series Podcast today. Excited to have you on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's start. You told me something before we started recording about hockey, and that probably started out in your life. Tell me how young you were when you started.
Yeah, I started playing hockey when I was 3. I was 3. My brother was 4. Started in a church gym. That was the only place that could round up all the little ones, I guess you could say.
Here in Pittsburgh?
Here in Pittsburgh, yeah.
Okay.
St. Leo's church gym is where we started. Then quickly started playing street hockey from there. United States, it's considered street hockey, deck hockey. Internationally, it's called ball hockey. So it's got to the point where I started traveling as a youth. And then once I got to the men's level, that's whenever it kind of got really serious. It's taken me all over the world. I've been to some really cool places all over the world playing against guys that are in the NHL or used to be in the NHL. It's a really cool thing. Yeah.
Wow. So was that the sport that you played your whole life, or did you dabble in a little bit of everything?
Yeah, I'm a multi-sport athlete.
Okay.
Literally played almost anything under the sun. My brother and I mean, we're 12 and a half months apart. So we were on the same teams in almost every sport. You know, we played hockey was our main sport. We've played that year round nonstop for the last, 30 years of my life. Baseball was always a big one. Football was always a big one. My brother was a really good soccer player. My brother and my sister were really good soccer players. Played soccer though too. Basketball. I mean, the only thing I never played that I really wanted to was lacrosse. But as I was growing up, lacrosse wasn't super big here in Pittsburgh. So it wasn't until after the fact that it got a little bit bigger. But that was the only sport that I kind of really wanted to play and never really did. Yeah.
So when was it when you decided hockey was it and you kind of let go of all the other sports? Or was that not a time?
I don't think that was a time. To be honest with you, I think it just got to the point where the other sports you kind of aged out. So you stopped playing football if you weren't going to play in college, right? So I went to Perry City School, and I was a little white boy in city school. I wasn't set to play football there, so I didn't play in high school either. But same thing with basketball. You get to a certain age in baseball for Colt League, and unless you're going to go do something in college or something like that, you tend to stop playing that too. So hockey was the only thing that was limitless. So it's just, had the opportunity to continue to play. And like I said, my first international experience was when I went for juniors, which was 2008. So I would have been 19 at the time. And ever since then, it's almost every other year since then, I've been traveling the world, seeing some pretty cool places and doing a sport that I absolutely adore doing. So, and it keeps me in shape too.
Yeah. So you're still doing it?
I do. Yeah. Okay. My body's starting to fall apart a little bit now, unfortunately.
That's what happens when we get old.
I would say beat the living shit out of it for all my entire life. Yeah. Never thought it would catch up to me, but here I am, 34. Body's starting to fall apart a little bit. So I do it more so for fun now, rather than like the hyper competitive stuff that I've been doing, for the last 30-some years.
Yeah. So was it like you're saying it was a professional league?
Yeah. Well, to some extent, I guess it's all in the matter of kind of how it's framed, right? Unfortunately, United States is one of the few countries that doesn't get like government funding for these tournaments and things like that. Canada, they're professionals up there. They have their providences pay for things and pay for equipment and travel and stuff like that. So, the true definition of a professional, no, we didn't get paid to play, but we played against the guys that always did. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
So why deck hockey and not ice hockey, or did you try deck hockey and
mainly so all of me and my 2 siblings everybody played as much sports as possible, and God bless my parents because they literally gave us everything. I think it was a money thing, to be honest with you, growing up. So again, one of three, everybody played. I still remember stories. I had a hockey tournament in Niagara Falls, Canada. My baseball team made the city championship. We were playing down at PNC Park. Mm-hmm. We drove up Friday night and played a game Friday night in Niagara Falls. My brother stayed there. My brother and sister stayed there. My parents drove home with me, played my baseball game Saturday morning. We won. I still remember my dad grabbing me in my bag and pulling me over the center field wall. We got in the car, drove back up to Niagara Falls, Canada, played a game Saturday night, won the championship on Sunday, and came home. Like, that's the kind of stuff my parents did for me when I was young. And so to say that I wanted to play ice hockey, sure, but I don't think my parents could have afforded it. So it's one of those.
I mean, it's meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
So, and I adore my sport. I do. It's, people knock it because, it's not ice hockey, but you try running everywhere instead of skating everywhere, and then you can come see me. So
yeah, I mean, that's what people say about soccer too.
Yeah, it's the miles and miles they run. Yes. And you got to be in some pretty good shape. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So sports. This is funny how people are probably thinking like, why would we just talk about a bunch of sports? But it shapes you into being a professional. My senior year, my senior project was how sports shape the person and puts them off into a good path in life, as if you're going to college, whatever you're doing. So what about hockey and playing all those sports puts you to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, adversity, right? I mean, no matter, sometimes you don't even see it coming, but eventually adversity is going to show up in your life, and how you get over things, how you get through it. And, it's just business in general is that, right? Mm-hmm. I first started out in sales. So I was in outside sales, corporate sales first. Did that for a little bit. Then I switched to some radio sales, did that for a short period of time, and then did the real estate thing. But all three in common are sales, and it's overcoming objections and overcoming adversity and things of that nature. And what better way to do that than to, have your heart broken, losing in overtime in the championship game. Right?
Yeah.
How are you going to pull yourself up and deal with it? Or you're the reason why the other team scored a goal, or something along those lines. So, it just teaches you so much. I've always been like one of the leaders of all my teams. So like the leadership role is something I've always kind of gravitated towards. Even though I'm an independent contractor as a real estate agent, I still like the leadership role of like people that work for River Point. Younger agents kind of come to me and ask me for some advice and stuff. So not just from making more money, but actually making myself a better real estate agent, being a leader of ways. And, it's just, I mean, if you think you got it figured out, you're wrong. Every day is new learning experience. So.
Yeah. I mean, being a leader is, you don't even have to lead someone else. You're leading yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are followers and they come into a position that's real estate, they don't end up doing very well in real estate just because they don't have anybody like breathing down their neck and micromanaging them.
Yeah. It was a sink. So how I became a real estate agent, it was a sink or swim moment. And it was kind of back myself into a corner and kind of just, I had to make it kind of a deal. And sure, the general rule of thumb is you make it 2 years in real estate and you're going to make it. But I knew much earlier than that here at River Point that, my boss here just wasn't going to let me fail. Like it's the kind of place that this is. It's nobody's going to fail. Like they're going to be there to make sure that you make it and you get that threshold. And once you get that threshold, that's when you see this catapult, this holy shit spike and, just everything. And it's, I owe a lot to River Point, but the back yourself into a corner moment was definitely self-inflicted. I mean, I quit my job at the radio station and I was just like, I'm just going to make this work, and of course I was doing part-time jobs and stuff, trying to make some money, make ends meet. But the fact of the matter is it was sink or swim.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Why real estate?
Shut up. At the time I just bought my house.
Okay.
A good friend of mine, still to this day, a family friend of mine, made the suggestion. He knew that I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. And he made the suggestion, hey, Steve, I think you might be good at this. So he actually sponsored me to become a real estate agent, take the classes, do the whole thing. And so glad that he did because, I tell this, it sounds corny, but I tell people this now, like I feel like I was meant to do this. I was meant to be a real estate agent. I thoroughly enjoy doing this. Love helping people, dealing with different people, different walks of life, different scenarios, everything. Every day is just a little bit different. No offense to the 9-to-5ers, but I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not. So.
Yeah. So it's funny because I talk about this almost in every podcast. It's someone, if they're in real estate or design, they came from a corporate job. So what from the corporate job to now, why that change, and what will you not want to, what's the one reason why you won't go back?
There is nothing like being your own boss.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a cop-out answer, because I'm sure you hear that a lot, right?
Yeah, but it's true.
Yeah. Oh, it is 100%. Yeah, it's just, you were talking about micromanaging. Like, if I don't want to work, I don't work, and the only person I'm hurting is myself, kind of a thing. But I perceive that as the flexibility is fantastic, right? I want to go hang out by the pool today. I go hang out by the pool today. I don't need to work if I don't want to work. It's my prerogative to do that. But at the same time, that's also looking at that from the other perspective. That's motivation as well. Because if I'm not making any money, whose fault is it but mine that I'm not making any money? So I can work as easy as I want or as hard as I want. When you work in a corporate job, I don't know if that's necessarily the correlation.
Yeah.
But real estate's fun. It is. It's an absolute blast. And I know that I'm still pretty young, but I can't see myself doing anything other than this ever.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy it so much.
It almost feels like when you're in a corporate world, people are like counting down the days to retirement. In real estate, I see people doing it up until they just literally can't move anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, the luxury is the longer you're in it, the less hard you have to work in reality. Yeah. Referrals come a lot easier whenever you're in it for a lot longer. So push comes to shove, if you're doing a really good job building the foundation whenever you're a younger agent. I've been doing real estate for 6 or 7 years now. By the time I double that, and I've been doing it for 14, 15 years, the expectation is I don't have to work as hard for the leads that I'm getting now. And typically those leads get a little bit bigger too. Somebody's buying a $250,000 house now is probably going to be buying a $400,000 house later. Yeah. But that's kind of the monster that is real estate. And that's why it's like, let's put in the work now, and it'll pay off.
Yeah.
So just got to always have that moral compass pointing north and doing what's best for the clients.
Yeah. When you become a real estate agent, you take the test and everything, you pick up brokerage. Why did you pick this brokerage?
So I actually didn't start with RPR. I started with KW.
Okay.
And the only reason why I was with KW is because that's where my sponsor was. So I was with KW for 2 months, maybe 2-3 months. It wasn't long, I know that. And I actually had a transaction with Rye, my boss here. And it was, went and had coffee with him on Tuesday. One of my colleagues here, Bobby, went and had coffee with him on Thursday. And Friday, I signed my papers to come over to RPR. So It's either they're really good sales guys, or I kind of just saw something. And it's definitely the combination of the two. The two of those, they're two of the best guys in the industry. But it was just, Ryan was building something different here. He wasn't pitching me to just bring anybody on board as fast as he possibly could. He wanted to grow it organically. He was very particular about who he was bringing on. He had just started. I think they were maybe up and running for maybe a year or two before I came on board. And if you look at our team now, everybody's around the same age. We do have some older agents and things like that, but everybody fits. It meshes so well. We have trainings once a week, and we do happy hours and things like that. And sure, everybody does those, right? Yeah. Every brokerage does those to some extent. And I'm not in those trainings. I'm not in those happy hours, but I know how we are. And when it's Bobby's birthday, everybody shows up to Bobby's birthday party. And whenever somebody's celebrating something else, or it's just like, we love being together. It's such a cool team atmosphere. And it's all started with Rye. It's just like his vision. And it was just obvious that whenever I talked with him, and then I talked with Bobby was just as passionate about it as what Rye was. So I was like, man, maybe there's something here.
Yeah.
So, and the rest is history. As far as I'm concerned, Rye's built an empire here. We're okay with people don't recognize us yet, but they certainly will soon.
Yeah. We talked off camera. It's funny, like, if you're not in the real estate or any of this type of world, you notice the big dogs in the front yard because you've seen them your whole life. But all these little ones that you you just learn about, and then you start seeing them pop up everywhere.
Yep.
And I think, well, I'm going to say my opinion. I'm going to have you say your opinion. These bigger ones, I think you kind of explained with the happy hours and stuff. Yeah, they probably do them, but it's less of a team.
Sure.
It's less of it's more of that corporate feel.
Sure.
And that's what people are trying to get away from when they're going into real estate.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, the thing about RPR that I love most is like, you're not going to come here and just be a real estate agent. Like, it's almost a requirement that you're going to come here and you're going to learn about the tax element of things, and you're going to learn about the ins and the outs of property management and flipping and things of that nature. I mean, that's literally, I call us a boutique brokerage because I feel like that's where our niche is, right? We can go sell as much real estate as anybody, but I don't think that's our main focus. I think our main focus is like the foundation pillars to what makes real estate real estate. You know, the financing side of it, the flippings and the property management. Like I said, mentioning all those things. Well, those are all things that Rye makes sure that you know whenever you're here.
Yeah.
So it's not just, here's how to be a better real estate agent. Here's how to sell more. Here's how to do this. That's not what it is. Yes, it's a part of it, but that's not I don't think that's necessarily the main focus here. Now, it's great because if you don't care about that, well, then Rye's not going to spend his time and worry about it. And, you know, you just want to do real estate, great, do real estate. Or you just want to do property management, that's fine, just do property management. And that's the thing, is like, we've seen the growth of RPR significant over the last couple of years because of that mentality. Yeah. It's not just bring as many people on as we possibly can. It's not just, you know, come over here because it's great over here. I'm going to give you a better split if you come over here. It's the learnings of the day-to-day life as a real estate agent. How are you manipulating your taxes and things like that? Creating an LLC to, you know, avoid self-employment tax, like all that kind of stuff like that. And it's just like, I know plenty of real estate agents out there, and I know that's not happening where they're at.
No.
But that said, we don't carry the clout that the big dogs of the industry do. And I'd like to think that our real estate agents, as humans and as people, sell themselves good enough that the reputation of the big brands don't matter as much. But the reality is they do. And I think there's been some reluctancy for folks that we've wanted to bring on board. I think that's the reluctancy, is just not the name brand that's associated with, you know, the big guys of the industry and everything. So,
I mean, we've seen it not just in real estate. People just build up they start small and they go huge and they implode over time just because they hire the wrong person. It waters down the brand meaning. And that's when those brands kind of break apart and people just leave.
Yeah, and like I said, Rye's very, very particular about who comes here. You know, there hasn't been any bad apples since I've been here. Like, there's always quality people here, and he does it right. So if he's thinking about bringing somebody on board, just like me, like, I'll go have coffee with them, or Bobby will go have coffee with them, or like, and he wants to get our opinions because we're already a part of this. Do we think they're going to be a good fit? And it's not, do we like them? Do we not think they're going to be a good real estate agent? Because even if you're a shitty real estate agent when you come here, you're going to be a better real estate agent once you're here long enough. Like, you just naturally are going to absorb things. But are you going to be a good fit? Are you going to fit kind of what we're about here? And I think it's shown because, I mean, we do property management. We do it all. And we're this little boutique guy over here tucked away in Glen Haven, just like, and we're okay with that. We don't need the big offices in the Strip District or Lawrenceville or anything like that. We're okay with our little spot we got here.
Yeah. Real estate, a good real estate agent is kind of almost like a good designer where you're interviewing the client, and it's a very vulnerable thing because you're talking about money, you're talking about their lifestyle, you're talking about all of that. And when you get an agent that knows nothing or is not confident in any of it, you're going to ruin the trust of the customer, and they're just going to like not want to buy from you, or you're going to ruin their whole experience with it. So what is your go-to thing, and what makes you different as a real estate agent then? Not people in your brokerage, but just general.
I'm a very blunt and honest real estate agent. I'm well aware that my ways might not be for everybody. I get that. But I say that from the very beginning. I might sugarcoat it a little bit. I might give you a little bit of fluff, but you're always going to get it straight from me. I'm a no bullshit kind of guy. So, I think too many real estate agents in this industry, all they're going to do is just say what they think the client wants to hear. Mm-hmm. And that might work. I know for a fact I've lost out on listings before because I gave them honest opinions and it didn't agree with their opinions of what they thought their house should be listed for or should sell for. Mm-hmm. And that's not what we're taught here. We're not taught to, to just do anything you can to get the listing. We're here, have morals, have some integrity, and kind of stick to your guns. If you're confident in yourself that this is what it should sell for, or what it should be listed for, then stick to your guns. You've done the work. That's the way that it should be. So I think, I think it really comes back to RPR as a whole, the foundation stuff that Rye instills in us here. But that also comes from my dad was in sales, the sports element of me, and it's just my general personality. It's just like, you don't like me, so what? Yeah. I mean, I'm going to wake up tomorrow regardless, so it is what it is. I think I'm a kick-ass real estate agent. I think I'm good at what I do. I'm always going to do what's in the best interest for my clients. Sometimes that's not the sell they want to hear. They want something more prettier.
Yeah, polished.
Just more polished. And that's just not me. No bullshit. No bullshit for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned just on your company does property management, but you do stuff on the side.
Yep.
Are you one of those people that just can't do one thing? Like I'm someone that has to have multiple streams of income, multiple jobs.
That's the smart thing to do though, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I don't know how people can't do that.
Uneducated ones don't do that as far as I'm concerned. No, that's the truth though.
Yeah.
Again, just being here, just kind of learning the ins and outs of it. It just makes too much sense not to do that. Being a real estate agent gives me all the flexibility in the world. It gives me flexibility to flip houses and be a general contractor in a way. It gives me the flexibility to be a property manager and, a landlord. It gives me those. But what I don't think a lot of people realize is also being a general contractor and flipping, also being a property management, a landlord, that gives me a perspective that other real estate agents don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
Right? So whenever I walk into a property and it's just been flipped, well, I start seeing things that start being red flags. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, okay, well, they clearly cut corners there. So where else are they cutting corners, right? But if you don't have that flipping mentality because of something that you did, because flipping's all about the dollar, right? All about the bottom dollar. But if you don't have that mindset, all of a sudden, you don't have that approach as a real estate agent. So then all of a sudden, I think that makes me a better real estate agent because of that. And the same thing with landlords and property management. If I have an investor client who's looking at a duplex or a triplex and, he wants my opinion on it and what I think rents are, what I think the gap rates are, things of that nature. Well, I can now talk to that. Whereas if I'm just a typical real estate agent, not dabbling in any of those things, then I can't really talk intelligently to those things.
Yeah.
And then the cream on top is you make more money. I mean, multiple streams of income.
Exactly.
I got a shitty month over here real estate wise. I don't close anything. That's fine. So all my properties over here that I'm collecting rent for, they're paying my mortgage at home and paying my car. So,
yeah.
I mean, how can I be upset about that? Yeah. And why the hell wouldn't you do that if you have the opportunity to?
Yeah. So, what was the first one that you dove into after being a real estate agent?
Flipping.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very eager. Eager.
Flip your own home or flip a house?
Flip a house. Yeah.
Okay.
Flip a house. I was very, very eager to flip. Yeah. And Rye being Rye, kind of was a sink or swim. He was like, all right. He goes, I'll partner up with you. We'll go 50-50, but you're making all the decisions. You're going to learn the hard way. And sure enough, I did. Finishes were probably a little bit too nice for the price point. It's, it's just so, but it was one of those things. That's the only way to kind of really learn. So we hit the reset button afterwards. We looked at what we did, what we could have done better, and everything of that nature. And now flipping again. You just learn a little bit more each time. What you should do, what you shouldn't do, shortcuts that you can potentially take, and all these different things. Develop relationship with contractors, and don't use this contractor, things like that. Yeah. So all of a sudden, flipping becomes a little bit easier. You make more money on your flips. They happen a little bit quicker. No, right now is a real shitty time for flipping because of the market, but flipping was the first thing that I dove into. I was very, very eager to do the flipping. Yeah.
I think everybody was.
Yeah.
Do you think because of it's a horrible market to flip right now, that's going to die? It's going to die down? Like less people are going to be flipping? Like, I hope so.
Yeah.
There's some. Well,
I think the last 2 years, the last 2 years with the market the way that it was, I think there was a lot of amateur flippers that came in, did really shitty work, tried maximizing on the dollar. And I think what's happened now is those folks are trying to sell, the polished piece of shit that it was.
Yeah.
And now they're having a hard time doing that. And now the repercussions of, that flipper are kind of starting to show up. And I don't know. I think the market right now is, it's like a sliding scale in a way. Properties that were being sold for only investing, right? So only flippers. Well, now with the rates the way that they are in the market, the way that it is, that sliding scale has now slid more towards first-time home buyers. So investors aren't necessarily winning as many bids as they would want because first-time home buyers are now buying, and they're okay with the dated kitchens, the dated bathrooms, the less perfect homes because they can't afford more because interest rates are so much higher and inventory is low. So all of a sudden, your investors are not getting the deals that they typically would want. Wholesaling is even more of a wild west now with that. I mean, I still see. I'm on plenty of email chains from wholesalers, but even then, the wholesalers, they're getting super greedy with what, because they probably can't get it for as cheap as they want, or maybe they can, but they're just trying to maximize because these opportunities to flip are so few and far between right now. All of a sudden now, they're doubling what they would typically do because just the supply just isn't there. So I don't know. It's a unique situation, a unique scenario. I'm actually surprised we still haven't seen more remnants from COVID, more foreclosures, more stuff like that. I'm actually pretty surprised that we haven't seen more of an effect from the COVID days.
Yeah. I've seen houses that are still for sale that went up during COVID that were flips. They were bad flips and they're still for sale and they're like losing.
Yep.
People don't understand that. You need to not just flip it fast, but you need to sell it fast too because you're spending everything for the house.
Oh, yeah.
You're spending like you're living in it.
Well, and that's the thing is everybody flips a little bit differently. Some people have hard money lenders. Some people flip with their own money. There's a million and one variables that kind of go into it. But yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate. I mean, that's the risk you take. I mean, it can be extremely lucrative. You can make a ton of money when you flip, but you can also lose a ton of money. And if you're sitting there, say your hard money lender's charging you, prime plus one, or your hard money lender, he's charging you 10, 11% or whatever it might be. Well, it's 10 or 11% regardless whether you sell it or not. And then all of a sudden you're not selling it. So you got to either take your loss or, kind of wish for better days. But it's not for everybody. Yeah. And I think that the last 2 years, I think a lot of people, it's funny because the last 2 years, everybody looked at real estate. They were like, shit, look at real estate agents. They're making a ton of money. I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Yeah. This is easy. So now there's so many new real estate agents that have joined real estate. On the flip side of that, I think it's had the opposite, the inverse effect from flipping and things like that. They thought that it was going to be hyper lucrative, and it really wasn't. And now they got their hand caught in the cookie jar. So now the amateur flippers are kind of not nearly as prominent as I think they was before.
So with the more realtors because of COVID, what do you see the next couple of years going? Do you see a lot of them quitting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's I equate real estate agents' careers to like running back careers in football. I mean, it's not long, right? Yeah. It's just not because I do think so many new real estate agents think that it's going to be very easy, and they realize that it's not. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows somebody who's a real estate agent.
That's true.
Whenever I first started, I was like, shit, I'm gonna just eat. Because I know these people from this group and these people from this group, and everybody's going to want to use me as a real estate agent. And then push comes to shove, 7 of them have aunts that are real estate agent. His brother-in-law just got his real estate license, and it's just like, so now you're sitting around looking around like, shit, like all these people that I thought I would get as clients, they're not available. They're not clients anymore. So I think the realization is once you become a real estate agent, I think you kind of rubber hits the road there and quickly realize maybe it's not as easy as it might seem.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like a lot of people, and I feel this way, I don't want to hire a family member as my real estate agent or even a best friend because I don't want them to know all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I think there's a level of confidence that you can have that they're truly doing what's best for you.
That's true, yeah. So it depends on the person.
Right. But it also is very difficult to do business with family in particular.
Yeah.
Friends, it's a little bit easier, but family is very, very difficult. Yeah. I feel like family's probably a little bit more stubborn when it comes to like you, right? Opposed to as friends.
Yeah.
If you tell your friend, listen, dude, like this is what I do for a living. Like you got to listen to me. Like I think that conversation is a little bit easier to have and a little bit easier for them to hear, opposed to if you go to your dad and say, hey, dude, I do this for a living. You need to listen to me. It's just like, no, you're my son.
Yeah.
I
mean, that comes with any profession. Me being in design, family doesn't listen to me as much. I mean, I don't blame them.
No, I mean, everything comes with its pros and cons.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know for a fact this past year in particular, my 2 of my best friends moved back to Pittsburgh and they both used me. And they gave me such a hard time with it. But I know that it's all in jest. It's in kidding because I know for a fact they know that I literally did everything under the sun to make sure that they were taken care of. It was the best fit. We were getting the best price, and they were as safe as can be that they were getting it. So, that's the rewarding part too when you work with family or friends is knowing that they love what they bought, and you were a part of it. So
yeah. I remember what I was going to ask you from a previous conversation when they're building a house. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people just think they just go straight to the company.
New builds?
Yeah, for new builds. Where does a real estate agent come in on that?
They should be first.
Okay.
I think that's like a
very common missed thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 2 years ago, I had, I think, 6 clients decide they were going to buy. Or build, sorry. They were going to build. 6 clients.
Okay.
One of them told me before the process started. And I was able to help them through that process still. Mm-hmm. It's almost like going to the doctor with your own doctor. Like, you're going to go to the doctor, and that's about it. That's a bad analogy. Let's use cars, right? Okay. So you go to the mechanic. Like, your dad's a mechanic. You're going to go to the mechanic with your dad, who is also a mechanic. Mechanics are known to be a little shady, right?
Yeah.
You don't really need your air filter changed as long as with the oil, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But your dad's there, and your dad's going to call him out on his shit. Well, that's kind of what a real estate agent's role can be in the new build. So say you're going to go to XYZ building company, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to name any names. But if you take your real estate agent, you have representation through the process. And we do it for a living. We don't necessarily build homes for a living, but we do real estate for a living. So we can double check on the sales agreement. We can double check on those things. If you're going to go do a build and it's your first time ever buying a house, what the hell do you know about it?
It's true.
I mean, you're in the dark. You know nothing. So you don't know if this is right, if this is wrong, and all of a sudden, that's whenever people have the worst experience whenever they're building.
Yeah.
But I think the misconception is your real estate agent can't be or shouldn't be involved in that transaction because you're not buying a house now. You're building a house. You're still buying a house. You're still buying the lot. You're still going through that process. But I don't think people kind of correlate the two, which is unfortunate. One, because a lot of the times you're working with a real estate agent for some time. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know this, but we don't get paid until we close. Mm-hmm. So I put all this time and effort into you, and all of a sudden you're going to call me one day, hey, Steve, I just signed my papers with XYZ building company. We're going to build. We're not going to buy anymore. All right, cool, right? But so I think that's a major misconception. One, real estate agents should be involved in a transaction. They should be first. you should go to your real estate agent. One, talk about the process, because it's not all peaches and cream. It's not all sunshine and rainbows when you're going to do a new build. Most times it's the worst. But that said, your real estate agent can help you guide you through the process. And then in addition to that, you can throw them a bone too and make sure he gets paid. Yeah. The best part is you don't pay them. So XYZ Building Company pays them.
Yeah. That's something like in the north where I live, so many developments are being built. Not just Cranberry, but more north.
Yeah.
And people are just using the on-call real estate agent for that developer or that manufacturer.
Yeah. Well, the reality is they're using somebody that works for that company.
Okay.
So how unbiased can they really be?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what
so
I mean?
There are real estate agents that will work for the developer, or do they work for a brokerage?
I think they have what are called sales reps that work for XYZ Building Company.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure they have sales consultants, sales people, or whatever. I don't believe they're licensed real estate agents. I'm almost positive they're not. I could be wrong, but I don't believe so. But that's why it's so easy to bring a real estate agent into the transaction, because again, you should have some representation. You're not going to go into town and argue with a judge if you don't have a lawyer. Like, you don't know shit about legal stuff. Yeah. You don't know shit about real estate. So take somebody that knows what they're talking about.
It makes sense.
Yeah. A lot of stuff makes sense.
Yeah.
But not everybody pays attention.
It makes sense afterwards.
Yes.
It makes sense afterwards and make a mistake. Well, I want to end with where people could follow you on social media and where they can find your brokerage.
Yeah, so Riverpoint Realty, Riverpoint PGH. I don't know exactly what I think that's
I'll put it in the caption.
Yeah. Steve Sells Pittsburgh is my Instagram account. It's obviously give me a follow if you have any interest in buying or flipping or investing. Like I said, I mean, even if you want to pick my brain too, because that's the thing. It's I'm constantly getting better at this too. So there's plenty of times somebody will ask me a question and I'm just not 100% sure about. Well, that's why I have my avenues and my things that I can do. And hopefully I'm that for somebody as well. So, I mean, we're proud of what we do here. I'm proud of what I do. It correlates very well. So hopefully, if you got anybody that's interested, they're looking for a no bullshit kind of guy, I think you can send them my way.
Yeah, and you go all over Pittsburgh?
Yeah, so I live over in Shaler. We're in Ben Avon now. I basically say Allegheny North Pie is kind of where I do probably 90% of my business. I have clients that are down south Fayette, Bethel Park, Upper St. Clair area. Certainly go all the way up to Cranberry. I got some people out in Freeport area out there. So, I mean, we're real estate agents. We'll go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
Awesome.